Bonjour, my little gourmets. Nicer muscadet, the one I had before. I forgot to put it in the fridge. It's not quite as chilled as it should be, but who cares? And it's muscadet, it's French, because we're going French. We're making another salad because it's Friday. Not allowed to say why. I'll be in trouble. But this is basically a French carrot salad. So it's obviously got carrot in it, but it's also got lime or lemon juice, olive oil, Dijon mustard, salt and pepper, some parsley, walnuts, ground cumin, an apple. Specifically in this case, pink ladies. So, French carrot salad. Our first little task is we've got these walnuts or walnut halves, and we're going to be sort of roughly chopping them before we're going to spill that oil in a minute. I know I will. We just want to lightly toast them or roast them. Okay. So we'll get that doing first because obviously we want to let them cool down before we chop them, and also they're going in a salad. So I've already peeled and top and tailed my chopped carrots. Now I've got one onion here, and actually the recipe called for onions monkey. Look at that. I'll have to send that back to Tesco. But they came today. He says, talking off camera, for delivered our weekly shop. That to be a red one. And a bag of mixed lemons and limes. And I said to the guy, a bit stinky. I didn't say it's a bit sticky, but that's a bit sticky. I said to him, one of them lemons is like pulverised in the bag. And it was all dried up, so it was quite obvious that it hadn't happened in transporting it. It had been packed like that. So I said to him, oh, look at that. And he said, do you still want them? And I said, well, I would like all the others. I said, if I deprive the wife of her lemons for a gin, she thought it was funny. I haven't told the wife that yet. I said, she won't be very impressed with me. He said, well, I'll refund you anyway. He said, because it's 40. So that was all right. So I've got my money back there. But a bit late, that bloody onion, although it's probably long done. I will say, the recipe actually called for shallot. One small shallot. Well, you can't buy shallots individually. I weren't going to buy a bag of shallots. Barely ever really use them. And I don't need them for my recipe tomorrow. Probably would have been better off in a different pan for this. I just didn't want to get a great big pan out just to do this. I might have to flip them over, I think. So it called for one shallot, so I'm going to use about half a smallest onion. So this French carrot salad, it is carrot. What's a carrot? Well, a carrot is actually a root vegetable, if you didn't know already, and it's for Daucus carota, subspecies sativus, and it's closely related to the parsnip. And it actually, in history, quite often they were sort of interchangeable. When they talked about carrot, it might have been parsnip. If they talk about parsnip, there might have been carrot. Because they are very similar. Obviously not in colour, but at one time they used to be. Right, so all they do is just go up and straight back down again, little gits. So, can I toss that one? That'll do. What that spoon was something else like that. Oh, see the tip. Oh, I knew that'd do that. I knew that'd do that. Oi, 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 oi. Don't you set my spatula right, you little git. Get in there! Oh, you're shite. Oh, that's gone all the way down there. This is fun, isn't it? watching me try and catch that little bit of walnut. I don't know why I'm bothering. Principle matter. Principle matter. So I'm just going to get these lightly toasted. And what I'm going to do with that onion, while I'm lightly toasting that off, topping my wine up, I'm going to thinly slice that that onion. I've cut it in half so they're not big chunks. There's my onions, nice and finely sliced. And now I've got a bunch of fresh parsley. I move me mortar and pestle out of the way to give myself a bit more room here. Dump should go over there. Now, again, I've probably got too much here, but we want to finely chop our parsley. Now, I'll tell you about the carrot. Now, the carrot is quite an ancient vegetable. First mentioned in England, but like I say, at that time, sometimes they meant parsnip, sometimes they meant carrot. About 1530. But the carrot's been around a lot longer than that. Southwestern Asia, probably where it came from. Right, so I want about 2 tablespoons of, let's see, I'll go on and put all that in there. Now I'm putting it in there with the onion simply because it's all going to get chucked in a minute together. Okay, so yet again we've got a product that come out of Asia. Okay, and actually initially when people started cultivating them, they did it not for the actual root vegetable, but it was more for the leaves, for the flavours and the aromas from the leaves. Right, just going to clear this chopping board up, and then, right, I know what we'll do. We'll start on the dressing, because we want to get our dressing ready, although I might not actually do all the dressing just yet, but as we then start preparing, and particularly when we come to the apple, because if we don't do things with the apple quite quickly, after we started chopping it up, it'll start going brown. So we want the dressing ready at that stage, but the other bits we can sort of get done first. Pardon me. French wine. Right, while you weren't watching, I've roughly chopped them walnuts. Now again, I could have put them in with the onion and the parsley, but they're still slightly warm, so I thought let's keep them separate. I'll move them out of the way for a moment. Now, next thing I want to do is take, I'm using limes, which you can do. You want the juice of one lime, but one lemon. Because these limes are a little bit on the small side, I'm actually going to use the juice of 2 of them. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there now. Although having said that, there's a lot of juice coming out of that. I might not need to. It's reckoning that the juice of 1 lemon would be about 2 tablespoons. Well, I reckon I've probably got the best part of that there. Certainly am now. Right, I've got 1.5 limes in there. Okay. So we've got that done. Let me get rid of that. So the carrot started out, well, I told you it's an ancient vegetable. The first sort of cultivated carrot, if you like, evidence is that it, well, goes back to 3,000 BC. Perhaps not the cultivated one, to be honest. I'm getting ahead of myself there. Now, I said to you it wasn't necessarily orange. There were examples of orange carrots because it was sort of mentioned, but they seem to have been quite an unstable variant. So obviously the genetics were such that every now and again it would throw up orange ones, but it weren't very stable. It took the Dutch, and there's a little bit of a discrepancy there why, we're coming to that, but it took the Dutch to actually cultivate the orange carrot that was basically orange every generation. But originally they were like purple. And you will still see nowadays examples, a bit of lambert spread. Oh, that's a different story altogether. Can't go there. Lambert spread, I thought, not meant to be going there. So purple carrots, but like I said, the Dutch introduced the, what's the name one? Now, let me start sorting myself out here. I'm getting a bit of a mess on here. You're going to need a whisk. Now you can do it by hand, but last time I did anything like this by hand, it sort of a bit flopped, so I've got my electric one. Right, before we go any further, into my lemon juice, I'm going to put a generous pinch of salt and a good grind of black pepper. I say lemon juice, lime juice, or just olive oil, I don't know. Then we want, and I like to freshly grind this. Oh, got a bit of parsley in there. Because I didn't actually have any. I want half a teaspoon of freshly ground. Oh, it's been a pain in the arse. It's bouncing out. Right, there's a quarter. Oh, you little shite. It catches on the edge, just so I fill it up, and then goes away. So about half a teaspoon of cumin seeds in there. I then want some Dijon mustard, and we want about 1.5 tablespoons of that. And almost 2 there, because at the end of the day I ain't going to get all that off of there. Okay, good old French mustard, lovely stuff. Always forget, I always think Dijon mustard is a little bit more, a little bit less of a mustard kick to it, and more vinegary, but it's not. But then again, I'm a bloody idiot. Ooh. I keep trying it. So, that's gone in there. So we're going to need to put some oil in there, but we want to emulsify that. So I'm just going to put that to one side at the moment. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start prepping these things. Now, I said to you about the Dutch and the carrot. During the start of the 18th century, the Dutch produced what they called the long carrot, and it was an orange one. Now, one story is what they were doing was trying to honour, if you like, the Dutch flag and William of Orange. And there is a good strong sort of story that that's why we ended up with today's orange carrot. I'm going to kick my fingers if I do that, don't I? No, I will. But it's probably not actually true. The more likely story is that people used to put the old sort of purple carrot and that was such like in stews and sauces, and it tended to make them brown, whereas the orange carrot didn't do that. Right, so just going to put them there. Did you knock that off? Bet you did. You want a box grater. Now, if you've got one of them attachments on your food processor, I have, but God knows where the actual attachment is. You're going to want to grate this. Now, he says use the fine one. I don't think he means that one. So we're going to be using that one. And we're going to grate our carrot up. Now there is a lot of carrot here, about 500 grams, because at the end of the day, what is this? It's a carrot salad. So I've started grating the carrot. Now, the orange colour comes from beta carotene, and beta carotene is a precursor of vitamin A. So in our bodies, we've got enzyme that convert it into vitamin A. Now, vitamin A is essential for various reasons, but you can have too much. Well, you can have too much beta carotene, so if you have too much vitamin A, you probably can do, but and if you eat a large amount of carrots constantly, you turn orange. It's harmless. It keeps going everywhere, this bloody carrot. One bit went in my salt. It's not in there anymore. Now it's going over there. There's a lot of carrot here. It's a carrot salad. There will be a lot of carrot. Now there's this myth that carrots help see in the dark. And again, people say this was started by the British during World War II. But essentially what it was the British had developed radar. And so they were able to detect incoming aircraft and such like. But they didn't want the Germans knowing that they've got this new tool that allowed them to do that. So when people started going on about how carrots are good for you, carrots help you see in the dark, which was partly an offshoot of, again, the British government, because of the war, trying to encourage people to grow their own vegetables, because obviously food was in short supply. And so this sort of myth, whether it was the government started it or whoever started it, but there's this myth, just watching my fingers here, that carrots help you see in the dark. And so the government thought, oh, this is good. We'll sort of just let it be known the reason our pilots can spot these enemy planes in the dark is because they eat their carrots, and so they can see well in the dark. When really it didn't make bugger all difference. It was simply the fact that we had radar. Right, so that's my carrots done. So initially I had a lot bigger bowl of this, and I thought, nah, ain't going to be enough. It'll get drowned in there. So I switched to a slightly smaller bowl. And now I'm beginning to think, that might be a problem. But anyway, let's see how we go. So, what I want to do is, I forgot how to use it. I didn't use this one for so long. Turn that down a minute. We're just going to whisk this together. And we're now going to gradually add in, add in the olive oil while whisking, and we want to get the two to emulsify. So almost like making like a bit of a mayonnaise. So I've just about got all that oil in there, and it has emulsified quite nicely, but just keep spraying everywhere. There we go, like that. Now I was originally going to use the other blender, you know, the bit that has a cover on it, but I didn't think, honestly, there'd be enough in there. But that's that done. And let me just wipe that off of there before I forget where it's gone. There we go. Now, into that, I'm going to toss the walnuts, the parsley, and the shallot stroke onion. Set down. What can I toss that with? Let me toss that. Oh, no, that's not my pasta queen one. Where's my pasta queen one? Got to get a pasta queen reference. Here's my pasta queen, even though this is French, not Italian. Partly to help break up that onion. Okay, and now we're going to add in that carrot, and I'm going to do that in stages. Get in there, get in there. Don't make a mess, please. I should have got the bigger bowl. Should I switch to a bigger bowl? The only trouble is we're going to refrigerate this for about 20 minutes to help the flavours develop. And the bigger one won't fit in the fridge. This does. Hence the reason. Stop going everywhere, you little shit. So I'm going to carry on getting the rest of that mixed in there, and then we can start doing the pink lady. What's a pink lady? Well, it's an apple. And actually, its real name is Crips Pink. But they decided to sort of start calling it a pink lady because obviously Crips Pink didn't really quite sort of work that well, if you like. Whereas pink lady sounds really nice, but it caused them problems with it. It came to like registering the brand name. But anyway, that's a different story. Right, so I'm going to finish getting that carrot in there. So I've got my other wooden spoon out, the Guzzling Gourmet one, to go with my pasta queen one. So the Guzzling Gourmet and the pasta queen have been working together there. Now, depending on what the skills are like, I'm going to use a mandolin if your knife skills good enough. Because what we're going to do with these pink ladies is we want to julienne them. Okay, and this is quite a bastard, wicked, nasty little bit of work. Just wondering if it might be better if I cut it in half. Who knows? Now, a pink lady is an invented apple. It's a cross between an Australian apple, the Lady Williams, and an American apple, the Golden Delicious. And that's where it came from. Invented in Australia. I might have to take that off for a minute just to get this started. Like I say, we want to julienne these. I think I might be pushing down side. And it's now like number 3 apple in the UK. Now, when I worked in the apple and pear industry, I got a bit confused because I thought, oh, I remember them introducing this, but no, that was the Jazz, completely different apple. Now, I'm going to quite rapidly, because you can, well, you might be able to, where I cored that earlier and left it, and I started brown in the middle. So what we're going to do is, before I do all of it, I'm just going to chuck in that bit that I've already done, and we'll give that a mix in, and that will help stop the browning, the lemon juice and that. I'll help stop that. Oh, I better end up knocking that on the bloody floor. So, got one more bit to do. So yeah, so it's a very popular apple now. But the original cultivar was Crips Pink. And the problem with that was, you know, like I say, marketing wise, it's not that great. But of course, then when they wanted to register it as a trademark and say, you know, no one else could make this without our permission, this variety, it was like, well, is it a Crips Pink or is it a pink lady? What are you talking about? So it got a bit difficult, but anyway, it all got sorted. So in that goes in there. Now, if you want, if you know, a pink lady, if you're going to breed your own pink ladies, as it were, they do have to meet certain criteria. You can't just sort of say, oh well, that's a pink lady, close enough. It's no, it ain't. Actually, I might leave that on the side there with that over the top, in case someone puts their hand in that sink and slashes it. Earlier today I was baking and I was using one of my sharp knives to cut my dough. I had it lying on one side, and as I went like that, I just briefly brushed it, cut myself. I didn't think they were that sharp. keep trying to sharpen the bastards, but I never seem to be doing it properly. Obviously in that case. So, pink lady, sweet, slightly tart. She might be pink, but she's not that much of a tart. Now, they are a bit temperamental when it comes to growing them. Early starter, late finisher. But anyway, I'm going to finish tossing that. And then, depending what you're going to do next, might be done. So that's now tossed together. So now we're going to put it in the fridge and chill it for about 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, now, you can have this as like an aside, a starter. You can have a little bit of bread. It's up to you really. Do a quiche, roast chicken even. Or you could do a poached egg and have that on top of it. We're just having salad. Okay? But whatever way you're doing it, chill it for 20 to 30. You know it makes sense. Our French carrot salad with carrot, and pink lady. We've got the crispness of the apple, a little bit from the carrot. Bear in mind it's grated, so there's not a lot there. The nutty walnuts. The lime juice and the mustard. But the lime juice has toned down that mustard a lot. So, what is there not to like? Very, very tasty. Your French